Today we'll be covering a standard opening for Dances Up EarthQuakes. Dances Up EarthQuakes is a very high complexity spirit. Now, he uses a unique token called the Quake tokens, which you generally set up to deal damage to buildings and invaders. You do start with 6 unique power cards, which is very interesting. And this spirit is one of the more challenging to play unless you really have a strategy. What I find is that a lot of people might try to do a bunch of small quakes. What this opening is going to cover is how you can set up a maximum threshold for its innate power. Earth shudders, buildings fall, so that on turn 4, you'll basically be able to clear your board. So on turn 1, we're going to go ahead and do G2, gain a minor power card, and add a presence from the top track. Now, the cards that you're going to be wanting to look for, at least early on, are the Moon Earth cards. There are a couple of perfect elements that have Moon, Fire, and Earth, but getting those cards early in the game can actually allow you to play those and substitute them in for some of the cards that I'm going to suggest that you play. You'll also need a couple of cards that have Fire, at least one card that you'll be able to play on turn 4. And as far as the cards that you're going to be playing on turn 1, we're going to Impend, Resounding, Footfalls, So Dismay, and Gift of Seismic Energy. Both of these are your starting cards that cost 3 energy. On turn 2, we're going to G2 again, gaining another minor power and adding another presence from the top track. And we're going to Impend Radiating Tremors and play Inspire a Winding Dance. Now, Inspire a Winding Dance is not necessarily going to solve any of your ravages. It might help on the following turn, like being able to push a town out before it ravages. But if you wanted to, you could substitute this for another card that has that Moon Earth elements. We primarily want to play this so that we can get the second threshold of land creeks with tensions. This will allow you to add a Quake token as well as defend one of your lands for 3 because you're going to have 3 cards in Impending. On turn 3, we're going to go ahead and add another presence on the top track, which is going to give us an extra card play, but for Impending only. So now we could play 3 cards per turn as long as one of them is Impending. And we're going to go ahead and gain a major power. Now you're going to want to forget whatever card you played on turn 2. So in this case, if you are playing Inspire a Winding Dance, then that's the card that you're going to want to forget. This is important. If you forget a card from your hand, you might not have enough cards to play 7 cards on turn 4. On this turn, we're going to go ahead and play Rumblings Portend, a Greater Quake. And we're going to impend 2 cards. One of them will be Exaltation of Echoed Steppes, and the other is going to be the major power you just drafted. Now, when you impend the major power, you're also going to pay enough energy on it so that it is going to be played the following turn. So in this case, for example, if the major power costs 3 energy to play, I'm going to impend it paying 2 energy up front. That way it'll reach 3 energy and be played during the following turn. And of course, if the major power costs 4, you'll have to pay 3, and so on. It's sort of, if n is the number of energy, you'll be paying n minus 1. And again, being able to play a card that has Earth and Moon is going to allow you to add another Quake token, as well as defend one of your lands. Hopefully this will be enough to solve one of the lands. And I will also point out that on the top track, you do have a free move of presence. This is going to be useful in moving your presence for 2 reasons. Number 1, to be able to use the defense. And second, being able to add Quake tokens in the lands that have lots of buildings. Now we get to turn 4, and this is the exciting turn. This turn is probably going to take a long time because of how many things you're going to have to resolve. So tell your friends and your allies to be patient with you. But in this turn, I like to gain another major power. And I'll, again, forget whatever card I played last turn, which in this case was Inspire a Winding Dance. Now, it is painful for me to forget Inspire Winding Dance because that's a card that allows me to add additional Quake tokens. But again, you're going to need to do this in order to play enough cards this turn. So what are you playing this turn? Well, the 5 cards that you've impended so far are now going to reach the energy thresholds so that they'll be able to be played for free. And you're also going to play the major power you just drafted, as well as a minor power that you drafted earlier. Now, what's important is that of these 2 major powers and minor power, collectively you have to get at least 1 fire and 1 earth from those 3 cards. So that should be really easy to accomplish. And you're going to have 1 additional power card. We're going to go ahead and impend that, and that will allow us to add 1 more Quake token before we do our right innate at the max level. So assuming that you've reached the thresholds, you're going to be doing a lot this turn. Not only will you be resolving all 7 of those cards, but on the left innate, land Creaks with tension, you'll be able to do the 1st, 2nd, and 4th tier of the innate. You can see I put a black line through that 3rd tier. You're not going to have 3 cards impending, so you won't be able to add yet another Quake, but that's okay. You'll get 1 more Quake before you initiate Earth Shudders, Buildings Fall, and you'll get 2 lands that you can get some defense. So on turn 4, in summary, you're going to have placed 5 Quake tokens between your innate power and your cards. You're going to be playing 7 cards this turn, including 2 major powers. And from Earth Shudders Buildings Fall, you'll be dealing 2 damage per Quake token, another 2 damage per Quake token, removing 1 of them, and then 1 damage to each invader. So with this, for example, you might be able to do 2 damage to a city, 1 damage to 2 towns, and then dealing 1 damage to all the remaining invaders, and that will clear a single land. And that's just from having 1 Quake token in a land. Being able to have 5 Quake tokens, plus your other powers that will be dealing damage, like your 2 major powers, this is generally enough to clear your board almost entirely. Now on turn 5 onward, this is really up to you. There's no wrong choices here. You may want to continue going top track to get 2 energy per turn on the appending cards. Getting that 4 energy and the any element is very attractive. But I generally like to pivot and start going along the bottom track, going for additional card plays and impending card plays. One point I will highlight is your G1. Your G1 is a really tough choice. Do you want to add a presence or gain a free major power without forgetting? I can't say which is better, but I personally will generally add a presence. But that's just what I prefer. What are force multipliers for Dances Up EarthQuakes? Card draws and card plays. I can never have enough cards in my hand whenever I'm playing Dances Up EarthQuakes. And being able to play additional cards will allow me to unleash more powerful Quakes with my right innate. So if you can have power cards or allies assist you with drawing extra cards, playing extra cards, it's super, super helpful for this spirit. Now, one small tip I'd like to highlight is that on turn 5 onward, I generally am able to keep my board clear and start assisting other players. But what happens most of the time is I will try to do another max tier Earth Shudders Buildings Fall, save up for 7 card plays and essentially try to repeat what I just did. But by the time turn 8 comes around, most of the other players are also pretty powerful and they're able to start cleaning up their own lands. And I find that the Quake tokens that I've placed earlier on, like on turns 5, 6, and 7, by the time I go to Erupt, a lot of times my allies will have already cleaned up that land. So from turn 5 onward, I like to place Quake tokens in lands and then try to get off a quick eruption. That way I'm able to be useful and not placing a bunch of Quake tokens that by the time I initiate this, the land has already been solved. This is a summary of my opening strategy for Dances Up EarthQuakes. I hope this was helpful, and good luck defending the island.